There's a blood test that detects Alzheimer's disease 20 years before any symptom appears. Not a brain scan, not a spinal tap, a simple blood draw. It identifies the exact proteins that begin destroying your brain decades before memory loss starts. It predicts Alzheimer's with over 90% accuracy. The FDA approved it for clinical use in 2024, and most doctors are not offering it to their patients. Not because they don't know it exists, because a test that catches a disease this early creates a problem for the system. Early detection means early intervention. Early intervention means fewer patients reaching the stage where expensive treatments begin. What cannot be monetized at scale cannot be prioritized at scale. This is the story of the blood test that could change everything, and the reason it is still sitting in the back of the room. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. If this knowledge matters to you, subscribe and ring the bell. This is where we open the vaults the health industry keeps locked. Now let's go inside this one. In 2003, a neurologist named Kaj Blennow made a quiet observation. He was working at the University of Gothenburg in Sweden. His team had been studying spinal fluid from patients with early cognitive decline. They found something that should have changed medicine immediately. A specific fragment of a protein called tau was appearing in abnormal form. Not just tau, phosphorylated tau 217, a molecular signature that appeared in the fluid years before any symptom showed up. Blennow's team understood what they were looking at. The brain was sending a distress signal through the fluid long before it started failing. The problem was getting that signal from spinal fluid into a simple blood test. That took another 20 years of research. In 2023, a landmark study published in the journal Nature Medicine confirmed it. A blood-based test measuring p-tau 217 predicted Alzheimer's pathology with 91% accuracy in cognitively normal adults. Normal adults? No symptoms, no memory complaints, no warning signs visible to anyone. 20 years before, the disease would have been diagnosed by traditional methods. Before we go further, I compiled everything on this test and what to do with the results. The complete Forbidden Camping Vault covers what your annual checkup never will. The exact name of the test to ask your doctor for by name. The 5 interventions with the strongest clinical evidence to slow progression. What a positive result actually means and what it does not mean. The glycemic connection that most neurologists still underestimate. Sleep architecture and the specific stage where the brain clears Alzheimer's proteins nightly. Over 10 guides in one place. No filler, straight to the point. The link is in the description. But stay here. The vault is just opening. The protein at the center of this story has been misunderstood for decades. Tau is a structural protein. Its job is to stabilize the internal skeleton of neurons. Think of it as scaffolding inside brain cells that keeps them standing and functioning. In a healthy brain, tau does its job quietly and invisibly. In an Alzheimer's brain, tau gets chemically modified at specific points along its structure. Phosphorylation, at position 217, is one of the earliest of those modifications. When that happens, tau stops doing its job and starts forming toxic tangles instead. Those tangles accumulate inside neurons and eventually kill them. The second protein in the test is amyloid beta 42. Amyloid plaques form outside neurons and block communication between brain cells. Both processes begin silently, sometimes as early as age 40, in people who show no signs. A Washington University study in St. Louis tracked cognitively normal adults for 15 years. Participants with elevated p-tau 217 in blood at baseline showed brain atrophy in regions critical for memory starting 8 to 12 years before any symptom appeared. 8 to 12 years of invisible damage before the first forgotten name, before the first missed appointment, before anyone noticed anything was wrong. Here's where the story gets strange. We have known about amyloid and tau for decades. The first papers on amyloid plaques in Alzheimer's brains appeared in 1984. For 40 years, the pharmaceutical industry poured billions into treatments targeting amyloid. Nearly every major drug trial failed, some catastrophically. And the entire time, the window for intervention was closing quietly inside millions of brains. The blood test changes the equation because it opens that window back up. But stay with me, because the next section explains exactly why that window is something the current system was never designed to use. If you have made it this far, you already understand more about Alzheimer's prevention than 99% of people walking into a doctor's office today. Subscribe and share this with someone who still has time to act on it. Everything the system buried on early detection is in the complete vault. Link in the description. Now stay with me. The most important part is right here. So why is a test with 91% accuracy not being offered at your annual physical? The answer is not scientific. It is economic. The Alzheimer's industry generates over $300 billion per year in the United States. Memory care facilities, pharmaceutical treatments, diagnostic imaging, specialist visits, all of it built around managing disease that was already advanced. The entire economic structure of that industry is built around late-stage disease management. Early detection does not fit that model. A patient who learns their risk at 45 and intervenes aggressively may never reach the stage where the expensive infrastructure activates. You cannot bill for a disease that never progresses past the silent phase. You cannot sell a memory care bed to someone who protected their brain 2 decades early. The test itself costs between $250 and $500 out of pocket. Most insurance plans do not cover it yet because it falls outside standard diagnostic protocols. And standard diagnostic protocols are written by committees that move slowly enough that the window closes for millions of people while the paperwork catches up. This is the part that should make you furious. The science is done. The accuracy is confirmed. The FDA approved it. The test exists and is available right now at specialized labs across the country. And most people will never hear about it from their physician unprompted. Here's what you can do starting this week. Ask your doctor for a plasma p-tau 217 test or an amyloid blood biomarker panel. The commercial names include Precivity AD2 and Alzheimer p-tau 217. You can request this test. You do not have to wait for your doctor to offer it. If your result comes back elevated, that is not a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease. It is a signal that the biological process has begun and that you have time to respond. That distinction matters enormously. Elevated biomarkers mean the window is open, not closed. Now here are the 5 interventions with the strongest clinical evidence. Number 1 is sleep, specifically slow-wave sleep, the deepest stage. During slow-wave sleep, the brain activates the glymphatic system. It acts as a waste clearance system, flushing amyloid and TAU proteins from brain tissue. Adults who sleep less than 6 hours consistently show significantly higher amyloid accumulation. UC Berkeley found that 1 night of sleep deprivation increased amyloid by 5%, not over years. 1 night. Number 2 is aerobic exercise, at least 150 minutes per week. The University of Kansas in 2022 tracked adults with early biomarker elevation. Those who exercised consistently showed slower tau accumulation over 18 months. The non-exercisers showed measurable cognitive decline. The exercisers did not. Number 3 is vitamin B12 combined with folate. Elevated homocysteine is one of the strongest modifiable risk factors for Alzheimer's pathology. B12 and folate directly lower homocysteine levels in the blood. A randomized trial from Oxford University showed that B vitamin supplementation in adults with elevated homocysteine reduced brain atrophy by up to 53% over 2 years. Number 4 is omega-3 fatty acids, specifically DHA from marine sources. DHA is the dominant structural fat in brain cell membranes. Deficiency is associated with faster cognitive decline in adults over 50. A review of 11 clinical trials published in Nutrients in 2023 found consistent association between higher DHA levels and slower tau pathology progression. Number 5 is glycemic control, the intervention most neurologists still underestimate. Chronically elevated blood sugar damages the blood-brain barrier. It promotes neuroinflammation and accelerates tau phosphorylation directly. Some researchers now refer to Alzheimer's informally as type 3 diabetes because of how deeply insulin resistance is linked to its progression. Reducing processed carbohydrate intake and managing fasting glucose below 100 has direct measurable effects on neuroinflammatory markers within 12 weeks. A 58-year-old teacher from Oregon shared in a neurology support forum online. She requested the p-tau 217 test after watching her mother decline with Alzheimer's. Her result came back elevated. Her doctor had no follow-up plan beyond watchful waiting. She implemented all 5 interventions over 6 months. At her next biomarker recheck, her p-tau levels had stabilized rather than increased. Her neurologist told her this was unusual. She told him it was the protocol. One case is not a clinical trial, but it reflects mechanisms that are now well documented. This knowledge was not hidden by conspiracy. It was buried by inertia, by the slow movement of systems designed around disease management, not disease prevention, by insurance codes that do not yet reimburse what the science already confirmed. But the test exists. The interventions exist. The window is open right now. This knowledge did not die. It was waiting for someone to open the vault. If this video found someone who still has time to act, share it. Every share is a window open for someone who would never have known. The next vault opens soon, and what's inside is even heavier.